leisure physical activity, when you see the staircase, take the staircase instead of the elevator. When you want to pray in your house, instead of sitting down and maybe even falling asleep, why don't you move around? And as you are praying, you are scavenging, you are also being physically active. Hi everyone, this is Life from a Christian Perspective with Faye. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit more about physical activity from my last video, and if you haven't watched it, please do. Now, I talked about how we are supposed to also be physically active as well as being spiritually active, and how we can find creative ways to merge it together, because even God wants us to be physically and spiritually active. In 3 John 1:1-2, it says that he wants us to prosper in every aspect, including our well-being, even as our soul is prospering. That means that he also wants us to prosper with our body so that we can live to have a good, long life, so that we can fulfill the purpose of God for our life. And I was asked in the last video, how long are you supposed to exercise, the standard recommendation for an adult, in a week? Now the answer is, you are supposed as an adult to exercise for at least 30 minutes every day with a moderate level of physical activity. Now you ask me, what does moderate level of physical activity mean? I will tell you in a moment. Now, what about children? 5 to 17-year-old children, they are supposed to exercise at least 60 minutes every day for moderate and vigorous physical activity. And for 0 to 4 years, they are supposed to have physical activity at least 3 hours a day. If you're doing less than that, then you are not following the standard recommendation for you to be active. Now, what do you mean by moderate physical level of activity? During my last video, I talked about 3 levels of physical activity. We have the light, and we have the moderate, and we have the vigorous. Now, the light is, as I've mentioned, is just like a light activity, something that you do without stressing yourself. So how do you know the level of physical activity that you're doing? And remember, the higher the level of physical activity, the more calories, the more physically fit you are. So the light physical activity is the least level of physical activity, and it includes things like you're doing your chores, you're walking around, you're singing, you're doing light dancing. How do you know? When you can sing a song well without any break, and you can talk well, and you're doing your movement, that means that the level of physical activity you're doing is light. Now, what is the moderate level of physical activity? It's the kind of activity that you would do that you can talk, but you cannot sing a song. And what kind of activity is that? When you are taking your jogging or your brisk walking or riding a bicycle, that's an example of a moderate level of physical activity. That is an example of a moderate level of physical activity. And an adult is supposed to do at least 30 minutes of moderate physical activity every day to live healthy and well. Now, the vigorous is the highest level of physical activity. And how do you know whether you're doing a vigorous level of physical activity? It is the kind of activity that you will do that you cannot really talk for a long time without stopping. It's as if you're often and puffing. So what activity can you do that you can definitely not sing a song, and even when you are talking, you have to stop in between because of your breath, because it's taking your effort. And that's when, for example, when you're swimming, when you're running, or when you're playing soccer or netball. So those are the 3 kind of physical activity levels that we have. And for example, you might say, I'm working a lot at home, or I'm working a lot at work, so why do I need to do other physical activity? Well, studies have shown us that work-related physical activity is actually not very beneficial for your well-being. So you might be doing a lot of work doing your physical activity, doing your work, but it's not really so beneficial, because studies have shown that actually it increases your risk to death, as opposed to what we call leisure physical activity. Now, what is leisure physical activity? Is the kind of activity that you do at your own pace, at your own leisure, that you are not forced to do it, that is not work related, and those have been shown to be the most beneficial. So why don't you take time every day to do some level of leisure physical activity, and not just say that because you have been working all day, that's that serves as your physical activity, those actually are not so good for your body. Even though you are burning calories, you're working, but it does not really help you because it is actually linked to increased risks of death. Now, I know that you know that there are lots of benefits of physical activity, like you are fit, you lose weight, but being physically active has so much more benefits than that. One, do you know that you can sleep better, or you will sleep better if you are more physically fit? And also your mental well-being is improved. You also have more self-confidence. You also have reduced level of anxiety and depression if you exercise well. Yes, it has been proven. So why don't you try it out? God wants you to also be physically fit, and I know that even when you are physically fit, then you're able to live well, you are able to fulfill the purpose of God for your life. So remember, take the time to do leisure physical activity, not work-related physical activity. When you see the staircase, take the staircase instead of the elevator. When you want to pray in your house, instead of sitting down and maybe even falling asleep, why don't you move around? And as you are praying, you're scavenging, you are also being physically active. So please remember, God wants the best for us. If you love yourself, you will take time to take care of the body that God has given us, because our body is a living sacrifice unto God, and He expects us to take care of it. And remember also that you might think, I'm being physically active, I'm doing everything, I'm doing my leisure physical activity, I'm having at least 30 minutes of moderate physical activity, but I'm not losing weight. Why is that? You want to know why? Watch out for my next video, and I'll tell you more about how diet and sleep is also combined with physical activity to also make you lose weight effectively. Thank you so much for watching my channel. My name is Feyi Wires, and I am a child of God. Stay blessed.